I think that's the interesting thing, that like a lot of the artists who are on ArtStation, like they don't know like the story and the legacy. The ArtStation story didn't start, when ArtStation appeared like back in April, I think it's
Yeah,
2014. Like everyone thinks that ArtStation started right when CG Hub went down,
that's not
and
true.
yeah, and that's totally like not true. Like we've been around. Our station maybe hadn't been but the legacy. Daniel and I used to work at CG Society Ballistic Publishing. As you can see on Daniel's wall, he's responsible for publishing most of the books at Ballistic Publishing. I founded CG Society back in 2001. So I've been doing this community stuff for a really long time.
Yeah.
And that's how you and I first met. It was on CG Talk, and then we did, and then yeah, your work appeared on probably in our books, stuff like that. So yeah, like I left CG Society probably around, when was it, Dan? 2007, was it?
I think, yeah, that rings a bell, yeah.
Yeah, so around 2006, 2007, I
That
got out.
early. Hmm.
Yeah, so at that point in time, it was a weird time in my life, and I was like, okay, now's the time, where I brought it far enough at that point, where yeah, I sold my share of it, and then I went to and then I moved to Canada and worked for a company called Softimage. So you guys, a lot of people, may remember Softimage, XSI.
Oh yeah.
And
Too bad it all went down. So
yeah, and then we got acquired. We got acquired by Autodesk. I think it was in 2009. We got, I can't remember. Anyway, we got acquired, and then I went to work for Autodesk for about a year. And around that time, I was already wanting to leave, and start my own company again. So the timing was more or less correct in 2010, where I left, and then I did a lot of freelancing for Gnomon, for Gnomon School of Visual Effects, and a bunch of other bunch of other companies as well. And that's how I started Ballistic, which is a different company from Ballistic Publishing. And Ballistic was a Q this time. The story behind that was that my business partner wanted a name with a name.com, and as you know, that's like really difficult. Like you guys found learnsquare.com, but trying to come up with name.com is actually like super hard. So
oh yeah, tell me about it.
yeah, so name.com is ballistic with a q.com, only because the name was available on Namecheap. So that's actually a really great way of finding a name. You just go online and just search until you find a company name and you buy it. So around this time, I mean, the story of ArtStation goes back like 2011, around that kind of time frame. Because at that time, I already had started talking to a lot of artists, to a lot of my friends, particularly in Canada, around Montreal. So I spoke with Raphael Lacoste and a bunch of others as well. About my idea for a new portfolio website. It had nothing to do with communities, had nothing to do with, CG Society or CG Hub or whatever that. The problem was that all of these artists at this time were coming to me and were saying, and they knew that I did web development. And they were like, hey, Leo, I want to set up a portfolio website. How do I do that and be seen? And that was the original problem that we were trying to solve. It's like, okay, like users, like all these artists, great artists, want to be able to create a portfolio website. And at this time, there were already services like Squarespace and Wix and a whole bunch of portfolio builders. But the problem was that they weren't really connected into a hub. And this was a big issue because many people weren't able to were not able to, even if you created a website, like Mache, like you create a website, right? Like
yeah,
nobody visits because nobody can find you.
Exactly.
And then what we were finding, because we're talking to all these artists, they were all saying the same thing. It's like, oh yeah, I created a website like 4 years ago, but I forgot how to update it. I just don't update it. And so we had this idea. Well, okay, well, let's create this thing called ArtStation. It's called ArtStation because when you create an ArtStation, your ArtStation is your website basically.
Yeah.
And it's all connected into into this global hub where you can then find all of these amazing artists. So we were working on this, and the community engine and everything that we built ended up powering sites like DrawCrowd. So so there was some controversy there about, oh my gosh, how come these guys at Ballistic built DrawCrowd and ArtStation? What the hell's going on? So the story.
Yeah, what the hell?
So the story there it was very simple, was that we did work with Bang. We did some work for FZD School as contractors, building our web development company built some sites for him, and he at that time saw a very, very early version of ArtStation, and we licensed him the engine. It was that simple. And it worked out great. DrawCrowd has gone on its own path, and ArtStation is on its own path as well. So yeah, and then around April, I would say, so in March 2014, we went to LA. Me and Kevin went down to LA, and we showed a whole bunch of people ArtStation. This was like alpha version, it was by means ready or anything, but it already had certain things like the infinite scrolling wall of art, and stuff like that, and people, and the website builder in its most basic form and stuff like that, and people were really impressed. A lot of artists were like, "Hey, this is really awesome! Can't wait to see this launched." And then we came back, and literally the weekend after we came back, right, like CG Hub went down, and so Shaddy and a whole bunch of artists were just sending me messages, like, Leo, dude, you got to launch this now, and so and that was when we just turned it on at that point, because it was pretty much ready. It was just, our only issue was just that it was on staging servers and stuff like that, but we already had most of the site ready. Like I said, at this time, right, it was by no means supposed to even be close in terms of functionality or anything to CG Hub. We just launched it, and as you know, everybody then came on board. Within the first day, we had over 5,000 people, signed up.